Welcome to my knitting podcast. My name is Inge and I'm the Danish knitting designer behind Inge's Knitting Lab. My passion is to design garments and accessories that is exactly tailored to your body and your body type. Not all of us are standard sizes, so I challenge myself trying to figure out how to do this so that we can actually tailor knit, that's what I call it, tailor knit a garment for each individual body. So in this episode, I will talk about the status and the progress on my newest design, the Form and Fit European shoulder. But before we reach that far, let me tell you about one of my small designs in between when this test knitting is going on, and it's actually crocheting, and it's this hat, and it is also tailor-made on your own head measurements. So without further ado, let's start with this hat. I got so inspired looking at my downstairs neighbor. She had such a straw hat, a paper hat. I didn't know what it was. I just looked at it and said, well, it looks very nice. What is it? Yeah, she said, I bought this straw hat. It's maybe a bit too big, but I like it. And it's flexible and I can wear it during summertime. It shades for the sun and it's lovely. And I thought, well, can I have a look at it? Yeah, sure you can. And I did. And the material, I thought, well, it's kind of a straw, it's paper, but I didn't know anything about paper yarn, so that would be a challenge for me. And I could see that it was crocheted, so I mean, mostly I do knitting, but I have done a bit of crocheting, so it could be a great challenge for me to start crocheting a hat. So I thought, if I should make one, it would be with a small twist to fit with the summer tee, this lacy cable tee that is just going on in a summer knit along right now. So and then I started searching for yarn. And let me show you some of the ones I found. This is one of my first prototypes. And I bought this yarn called Ravelry Lux. It's from Linde Hobby. And as I didn't know anything about paper yarn, I haven't used it before, everything was kind of just dig into it and try it out, have fun. So I just looked up on the internet and the first search result I got was this type here called Ravelry Lux. It's from Linde Hobby. And I just got started. One of my considerations was, do I want a rounded hat here or flat? You see the difference. This one is the first one I made and I made it flat. However, this one I have rounded the head. So that was one of my considerations, and how to do this, how to do the increases. And again, it's all about math. And you have the diameter of a round circle. If you have the diameter, you have the circumference because it's about pi, but more about that later in the video tutorial where we adjust for sizes. But I started making this round circle, and depending on the yarn you use, you have to increase at certain places to make it flat or round as you like. So, back to this yarn. So I started, and I don't know what happened. I think I would like it to look feminine and not so coarse. And I just had this yarn here. You can see this type is a bit stiff. I can see if I can fold it out because it is actually folded a bit, I think. Let me see. Well, don't wait for me. I will cut in the video. Well, it is here. So you see here. And I think I picked a needle too small. It actually says here 4 to 5 millimeters of a knitting needle. And the same thing with the crochet hook. So I'm not sure if I took a 3.5 millimeter. I think I did, because I wanted it to look small, but it was very hard for the hands because lesson number one learned. You have to, of course, use the needle size correlating to the yarn weight, of course, like in knitting. So I got wiser, but this one was made in a rather small hook. And as I said, I would like it to be kind of flat here and straight down here. And I wanted the brim to be kind of large so that you could use it for shades and yeah, to sleep under it at the beach. I don't know. I'm not sleeping at the beach. I'm not sitting for a long time in the sun, that is. Not good for your skin. Anyway, and then I thought I would play with sequins to go along with this design. So I added sequins. And I also thought, well, I would like to add a bit of a pattern here. And as I'm definitely not a very advanced crocheter, I didn't know how to resemble this pattern here in the lacy cable tee. However, I think I have now figured out how to knit this one top down. So in the next version, being a knitted one, I will try to do this pattern. But one of the next considerations is, do you want a wavy brim or a straight brim, or do you want it to go slightly down? It depends on the increases here. So it's more like what we in Denmark call a bøllehat. I don't know the English word, but there are so many considerations, and just changing a bit with the increases here in the hat, you can totally change the look of it. So, well, the first inspiration was my neighbor downstairs, as I said, and the next one was Brigitte Bardot. I recalled from my childhood that she always wore a lot of lovely hats in different designs. So I searched for her and saw photos of different hats. And then I ended up deciding this one is the final one in the pattern, where I do it slightly rounded so it fits your head curvature. What's it called? Your head curvature? Please correct me in the comments. And then the brim here being rather large. And the next thing was I was looking for a different yarn. After the experience with this one and just, playing with it, trying out different things to see which design and look I wanted, then I thought, well, it is a bit coarse because of the yarn weight. So you see here the difference. This is, I think it's a bit more feminine, this one, but as you can see, this is, this yarn weight is kind of self-supporting, whereas this one is a bit more, yeah, you see what I mean. But when it sits here on the head, it doesn't make a difference. And I just started strengthening the brim here. But let me go back to this one. Let's just look at the yarn, because once I knitted with this one, I became wiser about the weight of paper yarn. Of course, there are different weights, just as for a woolen yarn. So the first one I bought here, Raffia Lux from Linda Hobby, was 100 grams, 100 meters, whereas the new one here from DMC Ecovita was 50 grams, 100 meters. So half the weight, so to speak. And this definitely makes a difference of the look of the hat. And also when knitting, but I mean, it was primarily due to my new wisdom, or what do you say? My new, what's it called in English? Yeah, my new awareness, I would say, that of course you have to adjust the hook size to the yarn weight. So I used a 3.5 millimeter needle, just as for this one, however with the lighter yarn. And now it was not a problem at all for the hands. It was rather easy to do, and actually it takes me only 6 hours to do such a hat in continuous crocheting. So it's an easy in between hat. You can do it if you have a moment each day in a week. So what about the brim here then, and the edge? Well, I use this aluminum wire here. So this one is 1.6 millimeters. I have seen different ones, so from 1 millimeter to 2 millimeters. It doesn't mean that much, but I think wider than 2 millimeters would be simply too much. But aluminum wire is very flexible, and I bought this at a men's store for, yeah, building store. But of course you can also get it in different yarn stores. So when I crochet the last round or two, I just put in this wire. But more about this in the knitting tutorial, because there are some few tips and tricks to make it easier when you do it. And then, well, here you go, you have the hat. And one of the requests from my downstairs neighbor, what was important for her was that when you pack for the beach, you can just fold it together. It doesn't take any space in your bag. And when you get to the beach or whenever you want to use it, you just fold it out again and it's as good as new. And you just, well, put on the hat and do like this. And here you go. And of course you can do the brim the width you like, but I think it's kind of, yeah, I like this one. So it ended up being this one. Okay, enough about hats. Let's move on to the form and fit design. Just to let you know that this design is now being patterned and it is released on July 31st. So again, you can make this in the lightweight paper yarn and design for your head, your circumference, your depth of your head, and so on. No problem. And when crocheting, I'm not that concerned about gauge. I don't do a lot of gauging and swatching before starting the crocheting. You just start working in the round and you see what is your gauge when starting the hat, and we just adjust accordingly. So, well, easy piece. Okay, let's move on. So here beside me you see some of the pictures of my newest design, the Form and Fit European Shoulder. If you haven't followed my podcast before or know what I'm talking about, let me give you just a short recap here. Because I set myself a challenge. I would like to make a tailored garment, and I would make it top down with an asymmetrical set-in sleeve, because when you make a tailored garment, actually the front and back of the garment is not the same. So how could you do this when you knit top down? It's a bit more tricky than if you have symmetry all over when you knit top down, but it's definitely doable. But we just have to think about a pattern in a different way. So then I started thinking, well, I would like to tailor knit a garment, because I have learned more over the years here now when knitting for many people that very few of us actually have the standard measurements on the whole upper body. So typically we have 2 or 3 or even more different sizes. So you have one size here for the shoulders, another size here just before starting the underarm in the back and the front, and another one at the chest and the bust. It's the same thing with men and women. And this is why when you want a tailored garment, you can typically experience that when it sits well on your chest, it can be far too wide on your shoulders or the other way around. So I would really like this one to be tailored. So there were two challenges: to do it tailored, tailor knitted, and the other one to do this top down in one piece with the asymmetrical set in sleeve. So let me tell you a bit about my plans for the pattern, which will be released soon. The test knitting is going on and most of the testers have finalized with nice results. I will get back to it because I'm overly excited with the results, but let's take the pattern first. So the way I have solved this is to look at a pattern as building blocks. So because you may have different sizes on the upper body and the lower body as well, of course, then I part it in 3 parts. So there's one part for here for the shoulder part, another part here for the yoke, and a third part for the rest of the body, so that you can pick and choose the one you like. Because yeah, well, when you're young and your body is not that matured, you typically have the same standard sizes all over, and when you design a knitting pattern, you have a range of different measurements all over the body that you use as a foundation for grading your pattern. But as I have now seen and learned over the years, most mature bodies and the way we are built from the start may not be the same. So you can actually have 2, 3, or 4 sizes apart with the shoulders here at the underarm and at the chest, the bust. So then you get these different parts of the pattern. So we mix the building blocks. So for example, you can get X small shoulders, and then you have part 2 of the pattern being a size medium or large or whatever you need, and then you change and go back typically to another size in a pattern part 3. So that's how it works. And this is why in the new pattern it'll also be released in a different way that you usually have a pattern, because now you buy not just the pattern, but you buy designer hours. So it works like this: you buy the first part of the pattern and you send your personal measurements to me, and I will tailor part 2 so that it fits exactly to your size. But again, it's depending on your gauge, so we can await your swatching and see how it ends out, and then we can do some adjustments on the pattern. So you get the pattern, you get designer time, and you get your tailored garment fitting exactly your body. So that's how it works, and I'm so excited to see how this will end up once it is released, because during this test knitting I've had so many nice experiences and comments from overly ecstatic from "You're a genius, it works for me, it fits me," and well, so nice. And actually to be honest, I was a bit afraid if it would be complicated to do this building block thing, but actually when you do the yoke and you write out the pattern actually row or round by round, it's not that hard. It's more like when you haven't tried in a cardigan to do the steeking and cutting, that's the one that can get the challenge. It's not the design in itself. So I also have this design in a sweater design, which is also coming out as a pattern in, I guess, in September. So yeah, well, so yeah, you can tell I'm it's so great, and there's nothing better than to help people getting a garment that fits, and look at the smiles in their eyes when it fits. And I'm here to help you. That's part of the design. But of course, when you buy a design like this and a pattern like this, is a bit more expensive than usual, but I hope you understand that in order for me to help you and guide you and be there for you, design your pattern for you, it is a bit more expensive. But let's see how well it is received out there, if this could be a pattern concept working. Yeah, so back to the status. So the male and the female cardigan is almost done, ready for release in August. And then we have the male and the female sweater design. If you're interested in testing the female sweater, please let me know, because the testing will start soon. Another very nice thing here in the process of making the form and fit European shoulder is the testing, my own testing. Because, well, let me tell you the story. I moved to a new area here in Copenhagen, new to me, and I thought, well, what to do, getting models in different sizes and trying out if this concept would be nice. So I ended out writing in a Facebook group for this area here, local area, and told them I was a retired scientist and an upcoming, hopefully, designer, aspiring designer. And if anyone would help me get my designs to life, and it would work like this, that I would take their measurements, personal measurements, and make them a sweater. And if they would like to get their photos taken and used on social media, of course, we would have common interest here. They got the sweater in a nice yarn. So, and actually so many ended up signing up here that my needles were on fire. But it was, in any way so rewarding, because I tell you, these youngsters, they are so nice, so polite, so everything, and they welcome me so warmly to this area, and I cannot tell you enough good about it. So it was very, very good experience, and also very nice when these garments also fitted so well with them within my concept. So you can see some of them here, and when the pattern is released, you will see the final results on their bodies. So well, I think that was all for today. I hope you are interested in crocheting a hat, or I will look further into how to knit a hat for those who say totally no to crocheting. But I think give it a go with this crocheting. It's actually very nice, and it can, you use different muscles, so maybe it's also a good time out for knitting, perhaps. And well, if you're interested in testing the form and fit European shoulder sweater for women, let me know. And let's just wait for the release time, and I will of course have tutorials on this sweater as well, to go along with you buying me as a designer when buying this design to tailor knit your garment. So that was all for today. Roger and over from Inge's Knitting Lab. Color me happy. See you later. Bye bye.